Welcome to Why We're Fans. I'm Duran, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Gennaro.
In all of our episodes, we cover the past, present, and the future of all your favorite NFL football teams.
We love hearing your stories, talking the NFL draft, and reminiscing about the good old days.
If you like the same, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this episode. And leave a comment below if you want to answer any of our questions.
Follow us on Twitter to stay up to date on our latest interviews. And like we always say, win or lose, we're all fans. Enjoy this episode.
And welcome back to another episode of Why We're Fans. It's your hosts, Gennaro and Duran. And we are here with one of Duran's division rivals, taking part of the Washington football team. Took me a little while to get used to that. But, after a while, starting to flow off the tongue a little bit better. Duran, how's it going today?
Good. And I'm going to try my hardest to say Washington football team. It's still with me. Muscle memory. I got to keep it going.
I had to look at myself in the mirror and say Washington football team. But I can't. I wanted to abbreviate it in WFT. It still sounds weird to me. I still want to say.
Well, listen, you guys are going to hear Redskins from me, so it is what it is.
We probably don't want to get used to saying Washington football team either, because it sounds like you might even have another name here coming up pretty soon, anyways.
Yeah, but let's go ahead and welcome in our guest today. We got Keith Gray. He's co-host of the
Bleeding Burgundy podcast.
Man. How's it going today, Keith?
It's going all right, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's kind of nice to get out and adventure in other, different podcasts. So I'm glad that you asked to have me on. I mean, we sit in our own little Washington football team bubble of podcasting, but it's good to get out there and see what else you guys are doing, and happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, definitely happy to have you. You know what I mean? Like we like to meet all kinds of different fans from different areas of the country and also from different countries. We just had some from Canada and also some from the UK, which is pretty awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, go ahead and plug any work that you're working on at the moment. Let us know where we can find you and everything.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's interested, I mean, all we do is talk about Washington football team /Redskins. So, if you're interested, great. But you can catch us at the Bleeding Burgundy podcast. We're on YouTube. We're on all, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart. So, if you're interested in something different, we just, we're basically bar talkers. We'll just sit and chit chat about whatever is going on in the world, which, as a Washington football team fan, there's always something going on. So that's what we do. And that's it. I just sit on Twitter all day and just, fight back and forth and argue with fans.
Stir the pot a little bit. I like that.
Absolutely.
I like that term you put, bar talkers. I haven't heard that one. I heard armchair quarterbacks. I heard, different kinds of shit, but I like that one.
Everyone does their podcast differently, and I don't judge, because, at the end of the day, none of us are experts. We all do this for fun because we enjoy talking about our football teams, right? Exactly. or our home sports. So it's just a new opportunity for us to get out and, meet other people and talk. But, the scripted stuff just isn't for me. I mean, we might talk about, hey, we're going to do a couple topics here and there. This is what we're going to talk about, but neither of us have any idea what we're going to say. And half the time stupid shit comes out of my mouth. So it is what it is.
It is what it is. Duran, you drinking on anything in particular?
I think the same thing you got.
All right, yeah. So right now I'm drinking Sonoma County Brewery's finest, Seismic Brewing Company for sure. It is actually one of my favorite that they make. It's Shattercone IPA right here, which they can make it through us, but Shattercone will do.
Got it. Before we get started, I mean, you have any preferences with these team names?
None. I mean, in the beginning, when all this happens, I hated the idea of all of it. Mm-hmm. I grew up a Redskins fan, you know. My dad was a fan, and my dad's no longer here anymore. So, the one thing, we're not from the area, we're not from the DMV. So, I don't really have any hometown ties or anything like that. So, it was one of those things where, man, I can't even say that, my dad and I are Redskins fans because that name doesn't exist anymore or won't exist. I mean, it'll still be around, obviously, through the years. No one's going to stop wearing their gear, but, eventually it'll phase out, and whatever new name, pops up, it's going to be what it is. And, eventually Redskins will be history, and, that's that. So it took me a good year to be that, get off my lawn, old man. I was just so stuck on just the idea behind how it all happened and pissed off about it. But, as a year went by, I mean, what am I going to keep being angry for? What? Something that I can't change.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know if you guys know, but, our team president, Jason Wright, just sent out, him and his team just sent out a survey to season ticket holders. And this survey, it had several names, but these names were awful.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely awful. Now, I don't know if they were actually recommended by people or not, or if they were just throwing them in there. But to answer your question in a whole, I talk a lot, so you guys might have to shut me up.
No worries.
Keep it Washington football. They can drop the team. In my eyes, I only say that because we can still kind of I feel like we can still keep our history and still say Redskins, even though it won't be said by anyone from the NFL. Or if you absolutely have to have a mascot, moniker, whatever you want to call them these days. I mean, as generic as it is, Warriors would fit well. To me, the only reason why I say Warrior, and actually, you guys from California, you'd know, our people on this side of town is saying, Golden State already owns that name, and I'm thinking, who cares? I mean, there's several baseball teams that share the same name with football. I mean, Giants and, San Francisco Giants, and actually the Giants, if, no one's really paid attention over the years, they actually took the Giants logo off their helmets and put NY. And so NY actually became their focus, and everyone called them, New York Football Giants. So, Washington football team isn't much different than that. But, a lot of our fan base hates the name just because, we don't want to be called football team. Mm-hmm. I get it, but I just kind of look at the scenario as what? So we're going to change to the Warriors or the Red Wolves, which I absolutely despise.
Yeah.
We're trying to force the name, keep the Red Wolves so we can continue saying hell to the Redskins or HTT. Mm-hmm. It's just dumb. I think at this point now you've retired the name. You either keep it what it is now, drop the team, or, begin a new era with something new, is the way that I see it.
I saw the Renegades. I thought that was pretty cool just because, growing up a Warren G fan.
HTTR, you can still see it.
Yeah, you definitely can say it. And one thing I do remember when I was younger, you guys always had the Hogettes. So I saw something that said Warhog, and I was like, that's pretty cool.
Until you get to Warthogs, which everyone seems to like that. And I'm thinking, I'm not trying to have a football team that's part STD and then part pig. And, Hogs actually wasn't a bad idea, except for, again, I don't know how much you guys pay attention to, but we just recently fired a bunch of people in that front office for, a bunch of shit that they shouldn't be, doing. Yeah. So I'm not necessarily thinking that naming your team after a pig is a good idea. So that's just my thought process on it.
There you go.
Good points.
Enough said. So
Renegades not bad though. Renegades isn't bad. When I saw that on the survey, I was like, all right, could I live with it? I don't know. Yeah, better than Red Wolves.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's better than Red Wolves, even though I know it has a bunch of, I forget what the meaning behind Red Wolves is, and I feel bad. But I know that you guys are underneath a bunch of, you guys are going through a lot. And then it all leads up to Schneider, the owner, and Duran actually gave me some points for sure that I had no idea that he did. But my question to you is, would you rather have him or Bezos as your owner?
No, I'd take Snyder all day. No. That's not going to be a popular take with a lot of people, but Bezos, no, I'm not interested. No, thanks. Because Bezos would take this team and make it a whole new era. And I'm that, again, grumpy old man. It's like, oh, get off my grass, keep the name, save the name, and I don't know. I feel like Bezos would totally flip that franchise completely around. I think Snyder still being around is the only reason why we're still continuing with the burgundy and gold colors, even though they're not true burgundy and gold, but we won't tell anyone. But they're keeping the burgundy and gold colors, and they're still trying to, this past year, their brand focus was established in 1932. So I can at least appreciate that, that they're still trying to find a way to keep the history in it. But, give me Snyder. A lot of people will hate me for it, but I feel like Snyder's taken a bad rep on a lot of things. I think that, is he a bad owner? Absolutely he is. I mean, first of all, the man should, if you're an owner of a team, you should know what's going on within your organizational walls.
Exactly.
And so if you got these dudes running around committing all these acts that they shouldn't be committing, or making these cheerleader videos and so on, if you're not involved in that, you better know what's going on. I mean, that's your brand. That's your brand that you're letting people destroy. So bad owner, but I'd take him.
Yeah, for sure. Duran, one thing that you told me is that he banned like signs. Is that correct?
Yeah.
From the stadiums.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. As a fan, it kind of hurt, but like, again, it's not my organization, it's yours, so it's not my problem.
Yeah.
Sounds like, some fans want them. It's 50-50 from everything I read, like on Twitter, which is not the most reliable source, but that's, where I get it sometimes.
Well, because a lot of the signs too were from opposing teams. I mean, they were, for the past couple of years, I mean, they've overran our home games, especially towards the end of the year. I mean, it ended up being home games for them. In fact, one of the games that I went to was an Eagles game, and Eagles were in contention. We weren't, obviously. We never are. We shouldn't have been last year, 7-9. But anyways,
Heineke, the hero.
Yeah. Stop. Yeah, I'm a realist when it comes to that. I mean, you got a question, I'll answer it. But anyways, so most of the signs were either from opposing teams or signs that basically said "sell the team, Dan."
Yeah,
so,
about him. That's what I thought it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he wasn't interested in that. And also Bruce Allen back when he was GM. So, and, back then they were boys. Apparently now they're fighting in courts and, they can't stand each other. And, Dan's now saying that Bruce was a part of the smear campaign. It's some TMZ bullshit, man. And I hate to say it, but I love it.
The best reality show in the world, the NFL.
Absolutely. Most people are like, oh, stop the circus. I want to be positive. I want to go into this. Man, give me that TMZ shit. That's what I'm here for.
It's funny. The people that say that are the ones glued to their phones. Like, oh my God, did you read? I guess I'll read this.
Right. Exactly. Still read it and tweet about it and then try to defend it. It's unbelievable.
Like on the outside, I hate like this season right now, smokescreen season that's going on. Yeah. I hate it because, my team drafting at 3, I'm hearing a whole bunch of shit.
Mac Jones,
the Rams teams, the Cowboys, now they're getting into talks about they want to trade out of 10. And Jerry loves Pitts and whatnot. Then you guys are talking about the Washington football team saying that you guys are going to trade up. No, you guys are going to trade back. We're going to have to go quarterback. No, we're not. So it's like, wow, like I hate it, but I love it at the same time,
So with us through the years, and I'm sure it works that way with you guys too. You get a lot of leaks. You get a lot of sources, people with sources. Yeah, and they're regular ass people like us, with sources. But I did get to see another side of that, and where if you play around on Twitter enough, you get to meet some different people, some people who actually can't report or break news because, again, if your organization is trying to keep a tight lip, on what team moves or the team's trying to do, they're not going to be the ones to break the news. So what they'll do is they'll look for people out on Twitter that have a decent following, and we'll drop these nuggets. And I've had it happen from time to time, which is interesting. But of course, if you don't have a blue check mark, you're not going to get any, real credit for anything. People think you're bullshitting, but man, it's all over the place for us. We don't know if we're getting a quarterback. We don't know if we're drafting a linebacker. We don't know what we're doing, but I'm pretty sure the team does. And I do believe the team is pushing out all these different scenarios to these local beat writers to, one, keep the story going because you need it during the off season. And two, they don't want you to know what we're truly doing. I know, like you guys, 49ers, I mean, who you guys drafting? Are you drafting a quarterback? Is, there's so many different scenarios, right? Which one, is it Mac Jones? Is it Fields? I mean, what are we doing here? And then that's kind of the situation that we're in. Obviously signing Fitzpatrick, you're basically saying that's a 1-year deal, maybe 2, if you need to bridge it again for another year.
Maybe a half.
Right. So all of our fan base, thinks that we're absolutely trading up, and I just don't think we're doing it. I don't feel like our coach thinks that we need a quarterback right now. I think our coach is trying to win with what we have.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we could talk further about that when it comes to future expectations, but we brought you on to ask you a few questions about your fandom. Duran, are you ready?
Been ready.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, Keith, we want to know how it all started. How did you become a Washington football, before a Redskins fan? So how did you become a fan of the football team?
Yeah, like I said earlier, man, I grew up in it. My dad was a fan. My dad became a fan because of John Riggins. I mean, he was military, so we didn't really have a home team, so to speak. So he kind of he really liked John Riggins after he got traded from the Jets, and he just began following the team from there. And then, of course, I was born into it, and I got lucky to see, I was alive during the 87 season when we beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl, but I wasn't old enough to know any better. It wasn't until the 91 Super Bowl where, of course, I'm old enough. I'm with my dad. My dad finally retired from the military. We were actually able to watch that Super Bowl together, and man, what a hell of a year it was, for us that year. We've been trash ever since, but that's how I became a fan. Just grew up in it, man.
You were a military kid. What area did you grow up in? What part of the United States, or maybe even abroad?
Yeah, good question. So Germany is where I spent, the first few years of my life. And then after that, Florida, Texas. Texas is where I spent, my young childhood. Then Florida was, pretty much it. That was the retirement spot. Been there. And then I met my wife in Florida, and somehow she convinced me to move here to New Jersey, right outside of, Philly. And for some reason I made the mistake. I love my wife, but she's an Eagles fan. So I'm here, and This is where I'm at.
So how did you have the opportunity to meet other Redskins fans on the road? Were you the lone wolf just going around?
Yeah, I was the lone wolf. I mean, there wasn't a lot going on. There was a spot where I lived in Florida where there was a guy who was a Redskins fan who opened up a bar. That bar didn't survive very long, and actually, I don't think it survived through a football season for me to even see if there was other Skins fans. So I've been pretty much a lone wolf, and actually things changed a little bit when I moved up here to New Jersey, which I was excited about, because Florida, I mean, I'm 14 hours away, and it wasn't like I got to a lot of home games, but now being only 2.5 hours away, I have plenty of opportunity, which this year I decided to pull the trigger and do season tickets for the first time ever. So we'll see how that goes.
Beautiful.
That's awesome. So you mentioned the 87 Super Bowl. Was that the Team of Scabs, right? That the replacement movie was based off of?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you had Doug Williams come in towards the end and actually win, and that's how that changed up. But I was so young then, man. I don't really know too much. Like, you're not going to get a history guru out of me. I really just pay attention to what I know. That 91 season, like I said, as a Redskins fan or Washington football team fan that could actually talk about that game and witnessed it. I mean, that was a magical year for us. Sadly, it was only for a year because we didn't do much after that. But
So when you were abroad in Germany and in Florida before the NFL ticket, how were you able to watch it? Because growing up with Duran here, I know that he was, hooked onto the computer watching like the little football move or having to wait for them to be primetime. And it's the Cowboys, America's team. They were always on primetime, it seemed like. So what was your experience like trying to watch your team?
So I won't talk about Germany just because I was so young there. Texas, it literally was, you didn't watch a game. There wasn't any internet options. I mean, there was no internet back then. I mean, you knew if your team was doing well by the ticker from whatever game was playing. And living in Texas, obviously I'm getting Cowboys games. So so I went ahead and flipped to the AFC channel just because I wasn't interested. Because again, I was a Cowboy hater back then, but man, it wasn't until Florida, I remember, I'm gonna tell my age here at this point, but I had a beeper, man, and the beeper would actually send you the scores of the game. So I'd be at work, and that's how I knew. And it really wasn't until the internet world where I was able to break in, and even then, before I was doing Sunday Ticket, you're using all them damn sites that you could on your laptop to try to, I remember firstrowsports.eu. That was my go-to, except for every year I'd end up with some weird ass virus on my laptop. So yeah, man, that's really how it was. And of course, whatever game, if they were on TV, we were there watching. So that's how we did it.
Yep. I know you're a season ticket holder this year, but have they sent you like a swag package or anything like that yet? Sometimes I see some of those leaked online.
No, I know that they have them, but you're not going to catch me wearing a gold member hat. No thanks. I'll pass. I'll hang on to it and just be like, all right, cool, thanks.
The Raiders one looked nice. That's the one I remember seeing.
No, this one had like the old school writing on the top, and and that's what it said. Like it did. I don't even think it said football team. It just said Washington Gold. And I'm like, God, you can't even get it any more generic than that.
Yeah.
I'm a pass on that. Like me personally, like getting the season tickets, there is some perks to that. It's just you got to know what those perks are, and then you got to get with your ticket guy. And I'm kind of learning the process now, because and it might be a little bit different this year because of COVID, but there's some perks out there. Get on-field passes. I know the new team president's trying to do some new stuff, as long as again, we don't know what's going to happen with COVID, but there is some cool stuff that you can get with being a season ticket holder. But honestly, I'm actually, believe it or not, like I made the decision to do the season tickets based upon tailgating, doing podcasting, and just hanging out with a bunch of people. I mean, if I'm going to sit on Twitter all day and talk to people, and I've met some people from Twitter from past games, but if I'm going to spend a lot of my energy and time doing that, like I want to meet these people too. I don't care if you have 3 teeth. I mean, if you're a fan, let's do it. I'll hand you a beer. Like, I just want the experience of having it all together, because in reality, right, I'm not expecting my team to do better than 7-9. Maybe 8-8, maybe no, actually we got another game. So 8-9, 8-9, right?
Yeah.
So I have low expectations for my team. That's just the way that I go into it. I'm a glass half empty guy. So that's just how I am. So I did it for the whole entire experience, definitely for podcasting, because I think that people who can't go to the games would definitely tune in to see, what we're doing. And, so that's what I'm here for.
So when you can't go to the game, what's your game day situation like? Are you live tweeting? Do you have like a superstition that's going on? Like, what is it?
No, pretty much, because obviously they televise Eagles games here. So if I have to, I mean, I can pop any game I want on a phone. We all have those pirated sites, that we go to. But if it's a really good game, that if we're in contention for something, you're going to catch me at the bar watching the game. I'm going to sit there like a lone wolf idiot, but it is what it is. That's what I've been doing past few years.
You remember your first live game that you attended?
Yeah, hell yeah. I was living in Florida. Man, I think I was still fresh in high school.
So it was an away game?
Yeah, it was an away game, and it was a Bucks game. And actually, I had a horrible experience. I mean, we lost that game. Had a horrible experience, man. I don't understand how fans wanted to fight me when we lose.
Oh, yeah.
like I lost. What do you want to fight me for? Like, I had beer dumped on me just walking down the stairs. It was just, and it was tough. But a couple other times, went there, we won, and got to see that. But I think the most important one was my first live game with my dad, right before he died. And it was a Tampa playoff game, and we won that game. And that's pretty much the best memory that I've had, with him. So he was one of those old guys that was like, what do I need to go spend all that money and getting all that traffic? I can watch the game at home, type of guy. So to be able to pull him out, go see a game, because I think it was like 2 years later he died, with pancreatic cancer. So that's the one that I remember the most.
Yeah, I bet that was bucket list thing. He ended up loving it. And
hell yeah. Yep, he had a good time.
Yeah, of course. Have you had the opportunity to go to any training camps or practices or anything like that?
I haven't since I've been up here. I am going to this year. I think the podcast game has really changed the way that I want to, kind of fan for this team. I mean, it's about a 4.5 hour drive to Richmond for me, to see this. And it's usually, it's during the time where it's hot as hell. So I'm not an autograph seeker or anything like that. So it's really just finding the opportunity to get out there, this year. Because again, I'm going to use this year as a whole entire new experience. I want to experience training camp, the OTAs. I want to experience, home games. I'm going to try to do, some away games too,
Perfect.
Yeah. So this will be my first year doing that if I end up doing it.
Yeah, it's weird being a grown man asking for autographs when there's kids and people around.
Yeah, when you don't have kids with you, it's kind of strange, and I actually was in a situation where I had an opportunity to get an autograph, and then I saw all these little kids, and you got this grown 41-year-old ass man, and I'm like, I just took a step back, and I'm like, go ahead, kids, you guys got this. Maybe if he's still here, I'll catch you at the back end, but that autographs for me is just more of in the moment, in the experience. I mean, I don't necessarily really care to collect, but it's weird when you're asking a 20-year-old 23-year-old kid on a football team, hey, can you sign this too? It's just I don't know.
Do you have any memorabilia stuff like that?
I do.
Stuff? What's the holy grail? You got one thing?
So I'm an RG3 stan, always have, always will be. I don't care that he only gave us one good year, but I ended up having a personal connection with him on Twitter.
Cool.
Believe it,
awesome.
believe it or not. My son was born premature on his birthday, and I was actually out tweeting it. He followed me back in 2012, but we never had communicated. But once my son was born, he reached out in the DM, and said that prayers for your son, because he was born, 2 months early. And so, I'm not going to sit here and say that we exchanged Christmas gifts or anything, because it ain't like that. But, having that personal connection, I kind of stayed loyal, to him, and I always hoped for him the best. And so we'd have little DM slides here and there, and I ended up going to his rookie. I'm going to try to make this story short. I know you guys.
No, go ahead, man.
Here.
It's all good.
I was all in. We all knew about the RG3 hype. It was there. Everyone knows we traded the 3 picks to go get him. I had just moved to New Jersey. I decided I'm going to go to FedEx for the first time and watch this draft. I mean, hell, we thought we had it. This guy was going to get us 8 Super Bowls, right? Back then. So I was all in.
Passer with speed. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was all in, man. I thought this was it. This was going to be the guy, and we all know how that ended up. But anyways, I stay loyal. So I have family in New Orleans, and that's who we played his first game, of the season. And that was that whole, Griffin, and where he threw that touchdown to Garcon, and just was a hell of a game for Redskins fans. I mean, we were scoring points, and it made us feel like shit's changing, right? So now to get to the Holy Grail question, a buddy of mine who does charity work under the hog farmers, they do charity work. Well, RG3 ended up sending him a bunch of stuff, and there he's like, hey, you guys just do whatever you want. I basically cleaned out my storage unit. Well, come to find out, my buddy, that works for that organization called, and he's like, hey, I got some RG3 cleats unsigned that I want to give you. And I'm like, oh shit, that's cool. So then I reached out to RG3, and I'm like, hey, listen, I got some, unsigned cleats, would you sign them for me? And he actually, responded back, and he's like, yeah, send him to me. Here's the address. And man, this man gave me his home address, which I thought was,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Gave me his home address, sent him. Then my wife even got in, and because my wife's like, really? Like, what do you want with another man's cleats for? Like, is this necessary? And so she got in my DM'd with him and was like, you want a signed pair of flip-flops? And he laughed at that. He's like, yeah, no, you can hold on to those. And so anyways, long story short, these cleats ended up being that first game as a rookie.
Wow.
Cleats. And I sent him the pen and everything. He's signed it, put stats. And, like I said, most people today would look at that and be like, all right, he had one good year. That's nothing special. But, as you've seen heard for the past 5 minutes, there's a whole story behind him. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool that I get to tell it, and guy is just he's super cool to me, so I'm just going to stay loyal, man. I know who he is, and things aren't, didn't work out the way that he wanted, but the personal conversations that I've had with him in the DMs, kind of tell me how he's grown since he became, since he was a Redskin, since he entered the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
He knows where he's at. He knows he's the backup quarterback. He's just happy to still be in the league. And even though he's currently not signed right now, he got dropped by the Ravens, but, he knows his role, and I think that, that continues to keep me, loyal to the guy, because if he's going to spend the time to talk to me about it, I'm going to listen.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that these guys are, we hear a lot of negative stuff in the news, but sounds like a top-notch guy, man. You never hear anything bad about him.
Yeah, well, he did when he was a Redskin, unfortunately.
The locker room stuff. I'm talking off the field type thing.
Yeah, this fan base turned on him, and that kind of wanted me to, kind of stick by his side. At the end of the day, man, he's a kid, and we're so quick to, as fans to tear these kids down, but never build them back up.
Oh,
and the league, he didn't put the hype on himself. The league put the hype on him. He came in with some ridiculous expectations, and I think what happened his rookie year, which he wasn't lighting up the league in stats by any means, but he had that 7-game win stretch. And he had that amazing game on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys. I hate to, but
that's what that will shoot you to the top if you have a national televised game like that.
Exactly. And then when you come, you get hurt, and there it goes from there, and man, there's so many TMZ stories behind that too. But I just chose to stay loyal to him, man, and it's worked out for me, so now I'm sitting on the man's rookie year game 1 cleats, signed.
Crazy.
And it may not be worth anyone to anyone else, but it's worth a hell of a lot, because I'm passing that down to my kids.
Yeah, you're not selling them. That's a way more valuable to you.
Not many people would buy them unless you're Baylor fans. I will be honest.
Yeah.
But it sits in a glass case, man, and that's how I display it. So that's what I do. And I've got some Mark Rippon stuff, but other than that, that's it.
That's awesome.
Gee, anything else for how it started?
No, nothing else. No, that was a great story to end up on that one.
Yeah, let's move on a little bit. You might have spilled the beans on the last one, but that's fine. We usually like to guess your favorite Redskins player of all time. G, you want to start?
Yeah, and I'm being selfish for sure. I watched this man in college, highlight reel all over the place. I loved how his story, how he was recruited as running back, turned to a safety, turned to be dominant. I'm going with Sean Taylor.
Yeah,
Sean Taylor. And I'm sticking with my guns. We talked a little bit before this. I'm going with Ryan Kerrigan.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the guys that kind of get drafted by the team and then stay there. And they're, I feel like those guys really hit home with the fan base. So that's what I was going with.
Should have went Chris Cooley.
Yeah, well, the thing with Kerrigan is that changes with the fan base, because, we have this thing where Kerrigan has the almost sacks record. Type
really?
of deal too. Yeah.
Nowadays that's pressures.
I know. Yeah, no, I'm not a Kerrigan. I agree with you on that with the Kerrigan, but now we're talking all-time favorite Redskin. Yeah, man, that's really tough. I would love to say Sean Taylor, but I'm not gonna. I think a lot of people would say that as a Redskins fan. For me, I have to I have to say, who's the guy that gave me the best glory as a Redskins fan? I got to go with Mark Rippon. I got a whole shrine with this guy. So, again, he didn't have a full on, career, but, he's got a Super Bowl. And I think we've had over 30 quarterbacks since that don't. So I got to stick with this guy. But Sean Taylor pulls in that strong 2-1 category. So absolutely.
Yeah. You're going to have to fill us in a little bit for Mark Rippon. I mean, he was the quarterback from 88 to 93. Of course, is it one Super Bowl? Yeah, one Super Bowl, 2 Pro Bowls. Is there maybe one play or one moment that kind of stands out to you that kind of made you a fan of him?
I don't know about one play, but I mean, multiple plays where he just aired the ball down the field. We had the posse receiver group, with Ricky Sanders, Art Monk, Gary Clark, just a very powerful offense, especially throwing. So I can't really say memorable moments except for in that Super Bowl, just again, him airing it out, that's what we were known for, during that season. So that's basically why I chose him.
Yeah, he had 34 touchdowns to Gary Clark, 26 to Art Monk. I mean, those are the 2 guys you mentioned. And they have on Sports Football Reference, they have a breakdown of touchdown passes by yardage. And he has the most of his touchdowns came 30 or more yards.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that, usually, it's 4-9, 10-19, the red zone stuff. But a majority of his passes came from 30 plus yards out, which says a lot about this guy.
Yeah. Yep. My second choice was going to be Daryl Green.
Okay. Yeah.
Of course, Daryl Green.
Yeah. I mean, the man was only like 5'8", 5'9", coming out of Texas A&M Kingsville. I mean, we had a discussion a few weeks back about your top DBs of all time. And then Duran, I think you mentioned Daryl Green.
Yeah, I put Daryl Green in there. When I think of, he played in a different era where I feel like the slot cornerback wasn't really, a starter then. But I feel like with his speed and just his size and ability, of course, he might be one of the best to play that position of all time.
And Keith, you mentioned those receivers that he had to play against every single day at practice. I mean, Art Monk alone. Yeah. I was a route specialist, and that was, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't tell me he didn't get better because of that. Exactly. So, that Daryl Green's definitely a love interest in our fan base. Always will.
Daryl Green, Hall of Famer, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champ, Walter Payton Man of the Year. I mean, it seems like he hit all those categories there. And as far as team records go, he was a 20-year Washington Redskin. And of course, played the most games, 249 games or 294 games, number 1 in interceptions, number 1 in pick sixes. And he's actually number 1 in tackles. I think that's a longevity stat right there, but just shows you he did it all.
Hell, and I think for several years he was the fastest man in the NFL, back when they did those competitions.
Yeah, that's how I first really remember Daryl Green is it was like the 40-yard dash, and they would line up all the NFL players, I think Pro Bowl weekend or whatever, and do that stuff. And Daryl Green, when you're a kid and you see a guy running that fast and beating all the fastest NFL players, he's legit.
Yeah, I kind of like how they're bringing back those games too. You know what I'm talking about? Like those, dashes, those obstacle courses and whatnot. I like how they're doing that. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a little fun to watch. I mean, hell, I think it's better than the actual game itself, to be honest.
It's what the game turned into. I mean, you'll never see a Sean Taylor hit nowadays. The Pro Bowl hit.
Speaking of like that. Oh my God.
But
I have to tell you that Sean Taylor hit on that kicker, that was a bit overrated. I'm not gonna lie.
Overrated? I thought you were gonna say maybe a little dirty.
Oh no, it was hella dirty. Yeah. And that's why I say that it was overrated.
Okay,
because I mean, anybody would have hit that kicker like that.
Yeah, I feel people are playing, 80%, 75%, and then
and
Sean Taylor comes,
and he's playing 100%.
You're not taking that away from him.
Yeah, and that was back when you were allowed to do that shit. I mean, hell, these days Sean Taylor would be flagged every game 15 times a game.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like I said, he was recruited as a running back, and I remember watching the U Part 2, and they were interviewing, I think it was Clinton Portis. He's like, they said, hey, we're bringing in this kid Sean Taylor. He's a top running back in the nation. Clinton Porter's like, all right, well, I'm getting to work. He goes, no, he wants to come in as a safety. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I actually got to see all three of them play in college when they played for the U.
Yeah.
So
what year?
Oh Jesus, I could
2002. I mean, that was like probably the best college football team ever.
Yeah, I actually want to say that was Clinton Portis. Clinton Portis was heading to the NFL after that. So,
okay.
And obviously we know he headed to Denver. And of course, watching that, I had, you have no idea any of that, but those three were definitely huge for the U, and it was against FSU, and it was, I guess, kind of towards the tail end too, where FSU and Miami used to be competitive, through the years. And again, I'm not a big college guy, but that game was hella fun to watch. And then, to see all three of these guys end up, as a Redskin at one point was, absolutely amazing too. So, I could carry that story on with me too.
Yeah, that Miami running back core that year was Clinton Portis, Willis McGahee, and Frank Gore.
Yeah.
Unfair.
Insane. Yeah.
Unfair.
I remember when he was getting like pre-draft, they're interviewing Sean Taylor and he was doing power cleans. I want to say it was like 2 something on the bar and he was like jumping mid power. Dude, that explosive power to have, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. And he went pretty high for a safety. I think he went number 5.
Yeah, he went 5.
And one thing, like, I know it's stupid, but some swagger type of stuff I do like. I hated when he wore number 36 his rookie year. I'm so happy he got that 21 like he did. So, and just watching him, man, he will break off like coverage because the ball's up in the air, and he'll beat the receiver to the route and pick it off or lay the hat and enforced fear. Man, like I remember him punking the shit out of T.O.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He made at Eagles and Dallas.
Yeah.
Both places.
And those were the years where he was actually spitting in these guys' face mask and, and shit. He actually calmed down, a year or two right before he died. But those first couple of years, I mean, he came in with a different swagger, a different attitude that, the NFL, I don't think had seen so much, and I don't know, man. A lot of people don't pay attention to his football IQ because they're so used to seeing him do these power hits, but that was a smart individual. He knew where the ball was going before the quarterback,
100%. So, Ed Reed even said that he was a smart guy, like you were just saying. He's like, dude, he was a better safety than I was.
Oh yeah. I mean,
that's a lot because Ed Reed, he's like top notch for me.
Of course. G said he might have been drafted too high. I don't really agree. I think
for a safety at that time, like
I don't know. Yeah. Even then, I mean, even Jamal Adams today, he was drafted top 5, at least top 10. But
no, like
dude, he can't play the pass nearly as well.
No, I mean, I would have drafted number 1 overall. Like, I'm not saying. I'm saying that for at the time, a lot of people were like, "Dude, why you draft the safety that high?"
If you saw him,
this is the type of player you're gonna get.
Well, too, that was the year where those were the years where quarterbacks were always going to be drafted up front, but that was also the year where people were or teams were grabbing running backs early too, because this it was a running league. It's totally different now. I mean, you could tell with the passing league, that's why all these defenders are getting drafted early. But yeah, during that time, drafting a safety was definitely a little high, but it was the right move for the team. I mean, shit, we were dealing with players like Deion Sanders and shit. Like, no, you got to go.
Yeah.
Your best years were with the Cowboys. And I know he played corner, but it was time to make a move. And, then too, defense wins championships.
Of course.
And so I think that was the mindset when they drafted him.
Yep. Do you have any players that you feel like were a little underrated that you want to shed some light on?
Underrated players. Whew. If we're talking back in the day, I'd say Ricky Sanders. He was a great slot receiver. He caught a lot of balls too, but he didn't get the glory touchdowns the way that Art Monk and Gary Clark. If we're talking today, underrated, no. I mean, all the players measured up to what they were supposed to be, in my opinion.
They're measured perfectly.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, our 25 plus years of losing measures perfectly.
There you go. I know. I feel like as a Cowboys fan, most of our guys are overrated rather than underrated. If they're good, they get the shine. So
yeah, listen, I'm a glass half empty guy. So when we drafted Chase Young, I'm not gonna lie, and the whole fan base was acting like this guy was going to be our savior. In the first couple games, he wasn't. If you're not getting 10 to 15 sacks in one game, that's a bit exaggeration. But then is he worth the number 2? Obviously Chase Young, was a difference maker through the whole season. But I was that guy that I was like, oh man, I so want to get this guy for being overrated, but he proved me wrong.
Good. G, anything else for players?
No, I mean, I know that he was your favorite player, Duran, but I think Ryan Kerrigan's underrated. Because if you look at his sacks, I mean, he's putting up double digits like every single year he's played.
I mean, those players that are on your team that are kind of like blue collar, show up every game, are drafted by the team, retired. Those are the type of guys that I always feel like connect the most with the fan base. So that's why I went with him. I mean, Clinton Portis left, Santana Moss had his days, Champ Bailey left. So that's why I went with him.
It's interesting because Kerrigan obviously played less snaps, this past season. And I actually thought he played well. For the very minimal snaps that he was in the game, he actually was a difference maker. And I'm like, okay, this is a totally different side of a guy that, we haven't seen over the years, but I would agree to that. I'd say he's overrated. I wasn't a huge Kerrigan fan. I'd get mad at him all the time because I always felt like he overran the quarterback. But like you said, when it comes to loyalty to the team and, playing your whole career, somewhere and just giving it your all, never hardly injured, you can't really hate the guy.
Yep. I feel you. All right, let's move on.
Duran, hang on, Duran. You guys just lost Alden Smith. Would you guys take Ryan Kerrigan on the squad?
No, I want to get younger. I want younger guys, and we run like a typical 4-3. I feel like he's like 3-4 edge rusher type of guy. But I want young guys.
Yeah. All right, for sure. Let's move on. Let's move it along.
Do you have a favorite Washington football team coach of all time?
Joe Gibbs.
Joe Gibbs. I think that's the only answer here.
That is. Yeah. Everyone else has tried. I'll look past Joe Gibbs 2.0. I think the game was a lot different when he came back to coach. I still think that he made some, decent moves. I just think he knew that the game was at a different speed than what he was used to. This wasn't like, 91, you're dealing with a lot of guys now who are not necessarily loyal to the team. They're loyal to their contracts. And Joe Gibbs, definitely the first run of Joe Gibbs. I'll close my eyes with 2.0 Gibbs. But he provided hope. That's what he came on the second stint was hope that we can turn this organization around.
Yeah. He was the coach there for combined 16 years, 3-time Super Bowl champ, 2-time coach of the year. I mean, no one in any modern time, I don't know the guys even before him, but I've even came close to that. I was reading about him just recently, and they had him up there as maybe one of the best coaches ever. I mean, how many win 3 Super Bowls? And he did it with 3 different quarterbacks. I mean, we get these dynasties and stuff like that, but I mean, that takes some work and a genius to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't disagree. Like I said, for me being alive, even though 87, like I said, I was so super young. So I try not to claim that as 2 Super Bowls while I'm alive. Yep. But, Joe Gibbs did it, and just kind of learning about him, in his history, even before my time of, how he developed into a coach and just knowing what I know about him, there's no other answer but Joe Gibbs.
I was looking at his coaching tree, and usually when a guy has 3 Super Bowls and stuff like that, it's like his tree is pretty small for as much success as he had. Steve Spagnuolo, Steve Wilkes, Greg Williams, those are like the main guys on there. But, there's some guys out there with some impressive coaching trees, and might even be like Bill Belichick. It's like great coach, but those coaches that branch off and coach underneath them don't usually have much success.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fuck Greg Williams. I don't like that guy.
I was just watching Greg Williams, especially he was talking about Sean Taylor, and Sean Taylor was kind of perfect for his defensive scheme.
Yeah,
if you think about it, I'm not saying he's a dirty player. I'm just saying aggressive, attack the ball, and
100%.
he was perfect for playing under Greg Williams. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I lost all respect. I think it was last year where they just kept on doing dirty hits left and right. I'm like, dude, come on. Like, you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
you know what you're doing.
Greg Williams has a history doing stuff like that. I think he's got better throughout the years, though. As far as Ron Rivera goes, are you happy with him so far? Do you think the team's headed in the right direction with this? I mean, I don't even think you really deserve to get fired from Carolina.
Yeah, I found that situation interesting, but what I loved about it was how he handled it. And I was like, man, I could only wish to have a coach, similar to that. And then, whoa, here we are, you know? Yeah, I mean, obviously, as a fan, you're not exactly bragging to the world with a 7-9 record that you made it to the playoffs in a shitty division.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact and the idea that he still went with the, continue to win, even though I know deep down he probably didn't think he had a team that would even get to the playoffs. But, he kept pushing his team, and this is the first year in a long time where I've seen players actually play for a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want, you want that type of atmosphere. So I do think that he is bringing a different culture to that locker room. I also think that him battling cancer, brought the team together even more. So I think we are, off to a good start. I actually, I didn't know if I wanted to mention this or not when it comes to, Rivera, but earlier mentioning, losing my dad to pancreatic cancer. I mean, cancer is tough for all of us. I think that we've all, had a family member, that, didn't survive from it. So it's not often that you hear success stories. So with Ron Rivera being able to ring the bell and say, hey, I'm cancer free. I kind of utilized, knowing that the team president follows me on Twitter, and I, utilized the following that I have. And I asked, hey, would anyone be interested in throwing money in? And we already know an artist that does a lot of work with, Redskins or Washington football team stuff. And man, there was such an overwhelming response to where I ended up single-handedly not only getting boxing gloves that we're having painted for him right now for him beating cancer, but also raised over $5,000 to put towards PanCan. And what we did is, I keep saying I, but we're actually going to have this gift delivered to him through the team president. And it's going to be based upon, and this is going to sound weird, but, Washington football team Twitter, family, again, so many of us that talk to each other every single day, and everybody threw in their hard-earned money because they wanted to do something, nice for a guy who's actually not only beat cancer, but has changed the culture of this organization. So we, donated 5,000 under his name. And at this point, we're just waiting for the gloves to get completed. And at the end of May, they're going to be delivered to him. So that's the other thing with this culture change too, is I don't know how the other, teams are doing with their fans, but the team president seems to be very interactive with a lot of fans and getting fans involved. And when I reached out to him and said, hey, would you personally deliver, this stuff to him, based upon Washington football Twitter? And without hesitation, he's like, hell yes.
Wow.
He's like, I can't even believe you were, and trust me, this was no GoFundMe. This is I'm a troll. I troll that fan base, but I've done it for so long that they've known me enough, but they all trusted me with their money. And I'm sitting on, excuse me, I'm sitting on $5,000 of their money in different accounts, but I was transparent with them all the whole time. And so, yeah, again, another long-winded answer to your question. I wouldn't have done this for, any other coach, but for this guy to come in, battle cancer, do cancer treatments during halftime, totally come in and change the culture, and to see these players on the sidelines actually play for their coach. Hell yeah, I'm happy that he's on board. I hope his window of opportunity, is a little bit longer than most of these head coaches when they, get a team. I think their windows sometimes can be 3 to 5 if you're not doing anything. And sometimes I think that's unfair. I think that you need coach to have a little bit more time. They're not going to come in, swinging at the gates. So hopefully he gets his time to shine. And, I think at this point, in the next couple of years, I'm not looking to win a ton of Super Bowls. I'm just looking to be a competitive, as a fan. I'm sick of losing. Like, fuck, man. And then our team's name is Washington Football Team. And then I got to go hear people say, man, your team doesn't even have a fucking name. This is what I hear from Eagles fans, right? And I'm like, fuck you. Your fucking team's shit, too. Team's a fucking bird. And I have to hear you sing Fly Eagles Fly. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, man.
Well, you guys are doing great work over there. I love hearing that.
Hell yeah, man. Much respect to Ron Rivera. I always love it when a California kid, definitely succeeds. And the fact that he also went to University of California is awesome. He does Super Bowl ring with the Bears, and he's doing good things. I'm loving it. I'm loving it for sure. Yep. We actually just had a beer out. Duran, I'm not sure if we have any left in the fridge, but we had a beer that was made by Sonoma Springs that was collabed with Still and Hops, a local restaurant around here. It's pretty much fuck cancer. So that was the name of the beer, and all the beer proceeds actually go to cancer research. So
yeah, awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So cheers to River Ron, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
There
we go.
I love Ron Rivera. I wanted him to get the Cowboys job.
I had no idea.
You guys stole him before we even had a chance.
I think Dan Snyder was on the line the day that he was walking out of Carolina, to be honest.
Yeah, I honestly feel like he didn't want to have the Cowboys execs over his head too. I think he knows what's going on there. He's been around the league long enough to know what he's getting himself into.
Yeah, I think I think he accepted the job based on the pure fact of, he said, this is my team, let me run it.
Yeah, exactly. And he knows that wouldn't happen at Dallas.
yeah, definitely not.
Yeah. So good for him, honestly.
He knew, and smart, because he knew we were in that position where we kind of didn't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's move on a little bit. Do you have an earliest Washington Redskins memory?
An earliest? So we're talking like this past season?
No, like the 91 Super Bowl maybe.
Oh, so we're going okay, so we're going deep that way. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, maybe watching something with your dad, a game you went to.
Okay. So honestly, back then, I don't have a single memory. I can just go back to again go back to Mark Rippon launching the balls down the field. I can remember our defense. Dexter Manley was one of my guys, just because he was so off the wall. So no, not necessarily a single play back then.
Okay. Well, we'll just move on, G, to favorite memory. Do you have an all-time favorite memory being a Washington football team fan?
Yeah, I mean, to keep this one current, I would have to say, man, that RG3 game, I gave it away earlier.
Yeah,
but that RG3 game against Dallas, that was an important game, man, and both teams actually played pretty damn well. That was a back and forth game, and just being able to sit there, and finally as a fan feel like we have a chance of being a winning organization again. But it was definitely that Thanksgiving game against Dallas that I'd have to choose.
Yeah, I feel like that whole season was pretty memorable for you guys. Of course, RG3 wins Rookie of the Year. He had 27 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. And that was the part that I was pretty impressed by. I forgot the only 5 interceptions. Of course, we mentioned earlier the 7-game win streak, ended up winning the NFC East. And right alongside of him, Alfred Morris, 1,600 plus yards. I mean, it was an exciting team to watch. That was pretty dynamic.
Yeah, and I mean, again, they were running. In fact, kind of relatable to Kaepernick. They were running the pistol offense there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the year that the pistol offense really wasn't on film, and RG3 was doing some dirty shit with that football too. The way that he would hand it off or fake handoff to Morris. I mean,
mm-hmm.
there was some trickery in there that I don't think a lot of people paid attention to, and Kaepernick was the same way.
Yeah.
Back then too. So. Man, you look at how things are today, you wouldn't have seen it. You wouldn't have thought it then.
Yeah. Do you feel like defenses kind of study them that one year and then catch up to them the following year? I mean, we saw Lamar Jackson kind of doing the same thing too.
Yeah, I do. I think once that offense, went on there, I think that was a wrap. I also think that actually they tailored an offense to mask, RG3's inefficiencies.
Okay. Yeah.
You'll hear RG3 don't know how to, read a defense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you wouldn't know that, in his rookie year, just because they did tailor that pistol offense that no one's seen before. But once that was on film, forget it. That was a wrap. And then I do think that RG3's deficiencies of what he didn't know was uncovered, and the reason why he didn't come out, successful as everyone thought. And that's the problem with, that I felt like with college ball back then is college ball can be, very gimmicky.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, again, when you look in the past, it doesn't even seem like Shanahan really wanted RG3. I think that, Shanahan was actually happy with drafting Cousins, which is why they drafted Cousins the same year, which we all thought was weird as hell to begin with. But, if you're going to have a running quarterback, you better have backup. And obviously RG3 didn't know how to slide. He refused to do it. I think that in his mindset, he wanted to make plays. And the only way that you can do that is keep your feet moving. And unfortunately, it didn't work out for his knee.
So in the draft, I actually like a quarterback that has mobility. And Durant said, what kind of mobility you like? Because there's like Cam Newton mobility and there's also Kyler mobility. And I told him, I'm not trying to kiss his ass or anything. I was like, I actually like how Dak and Russ have mobility. I feel like their mobilities are a little bit the same, where they'll scramble to extend the play, and if it's not open, they'll run and then they'll slide. And that's something that I really, really like. And the quarterback that I like for the that I'm hoping the Niners get at 3, is something that I really liked. And I really wish that RG3 had that in his game, because maybe that would have extended his time with the Redskins a little bit further.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is when Dak, speaking of Dak, when he was still unsigned, and there was some uncertainty on what was going to go on with that. Maybe not with Cowboys fans, because you guys are paying more attention to that. But, man, I was advocating for Dak.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dak is a really good quarterback. We could only be as lucky, even with an injured Dak. An injured Dak is better than what we've seen in several years. And I was advocating for Dak. And then, he broke my heart when he signed that. He signed that contract, which he was probably going to do anyways. He was just using whatever he could with leverage. That's how the game works. And I don't think he had any interest in being a Redskin, period. But man, when there was that like slight hope, and of course, smoke screen season that we're in, man, I was advocating Dak, like, come on down, like, let's do this, because he's damn good.
Ooh, I'm excited to keep him on our side.
Well,
as we know, it's not always good memories being a fan of any team. Do you have a worst memory being a Washington football team fan?
Yeah, for the past 20 years, it's been fucking miserable.
Could be a, single play, injury, draft bust, anything like that.
Yeah, man, again, I'm going to go back to 2012. I hate to stick to just that, but when RG3 got hurt in that Seattle game, that was a wrap. And I actually, and most of us who were active on Twitter then, even said this is a tough injury to come back from. And it wasn't like it was his first, because again, we were so used to losing, or we'll have that one decent year where we might hit the first round of the playoffs, or, get a wild card spot, and then boom, we're out, which of course, that's going to happen. But man, the feeling of, being on this roller coaster ride with, a guy who was supposed to be your franchise and then he has this devastating knee injury that no one thought he was going to come back from. And to be truthful, he really hasn't. Or he, he hasn't shown that he can be a QB1. So I would have to go to that, man, because we were playing well against Seattle. I mean, I think we were ahead before he got hurt, and that was a wrap. And you got to remember, like I said, you're so used to losing when your team's actually winning, and then something like that happens. It's fucking devastating.
Mm-hmm. Now, did the Haloti Nada hit? Did that happen earlier in the season, and then later on is when he really?
Yeah. Later on is when his leg was absolutely destroyed. That hit looked bad too. I mean, the way that his leg kicked out. Yep. We didn't think too much about that one because Kirk Cousins came in, actually played well. Mm-hmm. We had a hell of a game then too. But yeah, when it was all said and done, we knew he wasn't coming back. He wasn't going to come back. Just multiple injuries like that, forget it. Mm-hmm. And we knew that it was done. Me personally, because I'm loyal, I held on. I held on like, oh, he can't just suck. How can this possibly happen? Mm-hmm. You're the number 2 draft guy, but there was a lot of multiple reasons. Like I said, just seeing that these new schemes on film, and then just knowing that there was some inefficiencies and teams exposed that. Teams could tell that he couldn't read defenses, so they played that to their advantage.
Because of RG3, I always have to give a quarterback that enters the NFL like 2 or 3 years before I really say, all right, he's got, I always say, well, I've seen this before, but let's give him some time now.
Yeah. Well, I was a Redskins fan. We were desperate.
Yeah. Yep. Of course, the Sean Taylor death. I mean, that one was crazy. I just feel like the NFL in my era, I don't think has seen anything like that. I mean, he was still active. It was in the middle of a season. And he was, an all-pro type of player and having an all-pro year. So I hate to say that the quality of the player, how good they are matters, but he was a stud in the NFL.
Yeah, the non-football. Yeah, if you're talking non-football related, that's definitely number 1 for sure. Just the story behind that, someone that that's coming in your house and shoot you in the leg, he's there protecting his family. Just the whole situation was devastating. And how like when you have these like crazy moments, current events, like we all know where we were, when 9/11 happened, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it's like as a Redskins fan, I could tell you exactly. I'm not going to because it's pointless, but I could tell you exactly where I was and what I was doing when I found out, not only when he got shot, but then after, we heard, that he, had died. Mm-hmm. So it was definitely will always, sit with me. I mean, I've actually gotten lucky. I got both the memorial towels, that I was able to write off of eBay. And then just recently, I found it was actually a kid's hat, and you could tell that it was a training camp hat for signature, or that's, a dad was getting for their kid for signatures. But it's got Clinton Portis, Santana Moss, and Sean Taylor on it.
The Hurricane Big 3. You saw them.
And the guy who was selling it on eBay didn't know who the signatures were.
Wow.
So, it was under just a ridiculous listing. I got the hat for $40.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So, perfect. I hate that it's on a kid's hat. I prefer it to obviously be on a jersey or something else a little bit better. But, at the end of the day, that's a signature you can't get anymore. And especially with the Big 3. Yep. So I'm about to send that in actually to get authenticated. Not that I'll ever sell it, but it's like just for my own peace of mind. I knew it was a Sean Taylor signature, Clinton Portis signature too, because you're a fan. You see the signatures all the time, and so I do feel like I'm lucky to have something like that. But definitely non-football related. That's number 1 on my list too.
Yeah, I got one more to bring up, and it's the Albert Ainsworth signing. I mean, that was like the first. I think it was the first $100 million contract that I saw.
It was.
I don't know if a quarterback had one before then, but I don't think so. And then we know as it went on, he was super inconsistent. Kind of felt like he won the personal Super Bowl with that contract. Stories of faking injuries, on and on and on. I mean, did you hate the contract right away, or did you have some hope?
So back then I didn't really care about contracts. Like, it's not my money. I don't care what they sign these guys at. It's just, again, when you're used to your owner doing that, just throwing money around and bringing in all these guys. I mean, I can say around the same time frame, Adam Archuleta, you have all these guys that you think are going to come in and do shit, and they do absolutely nothing. That's terrible. But sadly, Ainsworth wasn't the only bad signing. It's just that was just probably the worst one when it came to contracts.
Yep, I feel you. G, ready to move on? Future expectations?
Yeah, let's move on. Yeah, so future expectations. So looks like let's see here, Daron Payne is due for the 5th-year option here coming up. Do you see yourself as the Washington football team extending him first or picking up that 5th-year option? What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're gonna try to keep their defense intact. I mean, it's gonna be hard to do, obviously, but that's also why I don't think that we're necessarily in the market. It's kind of weird because we, all the rumors, I mean, we were in it for Matthew Stafford, obviously, after it was all said and done. We had no shot at that because he had no interest in coming here. He wanted to be in California, and to be honest, I don't blame him. Who doesn't want to be in California? But they're gonna try to keep them intact, and I think that they're trying to keep these young guys in the more rookie contracts you can have, the longer you're going to keep the guys. I think that salary cap wise, they're betting on next year with the cap raising with all these TV deals, and
hope so.
Yeah, and if you look at these contracts that were happening this year, there was a lot of ballooning and back end shit going on, to where you say, man, how you only had $6 million salary cap? How the hell are you signing these guys? But there's this weird, shit going on in these contracts where, they can be voided. And so I think in the grand scheme of things, we're so focused on, we're so focused on the money itself and what we have, but I think there's a lot of ballooning and backhanded shit these lawyers are doing that, can actually get these guys signed. So
speaking of rookie contracts, you guys have the 19th overall pick this year. I kind of like your draft capital too. I mean, 4 in the top 100. That's 2 third round or 3. Is it 2 or 3 third rounders?
2
and 2 third rounders. I mean, I think you guys are picking a little late for a quarterback, but it's a decent offensive tackle class, linebacker. Do you have a direction you'd like to go here?
So you're not trading up to the number 4, because obviously Atlanta's saying, supposedly saying that pick, could be traded. I don't think you're trading up all the way up that, because Ron Rivera, to me, is stingy. He likes to sign bargain guys. That's what he did last year. It seems like that's what he's going to try to do this year too, to add depth to the team. So I don't see them giving a lot of draft capital to move up to the number 4 spot. But with all these rumors going on with the QBs, there's one quarterback that it's been stated that they really, really, really do like. Now Lawrence is out the picture. So who's next? Wilson. Everyone's assuming Wilson's out the picture. So then who's next? You have Mac Jones, you have Trey Lance, you have, Justin Fields, right? And then there's these rumors of, Mac Jones going way earlier than anyone thinks. So then a lot of people are thinking, well, now you have, Trey Lance and you have Fields. Who's going to slip? Someone's going to slip. So if someone slips, and they slip, maybe to the 8, 9, 10 mark, which that could be a complete stretch, I could see them then trying to trade up to get a guy. But if that doesn't happen, then I say you stay at 19 and you draft your linebacker, because we hella need him.
Yep. I was thinking that same thing too, the linebacker. I think one will fall to you right there.
Yep.
Could have your choice at maybe the first one too. Maybe you never know.
Are we talking Micah Parsons?
Yeah.
Are we talking? Yeah. I don't know. I think he's going to go. I think that we could be in the market for Jock. And I know a lot of people aren't as high on Jock because he's not a big linebacker, but he's a speedy linebacker. And if you look at the game, the defense is changing to those types of guys. Yeah, so how could you pass that up? Zaven Collins is out there too, but I think 19 is too early for Zaven. I think so. But again, I'm just a guy who sits on the couch that don't know shit. So
Exactly.
definitely in desperate need. And I say, hey, you already got a really good defense. Let's improve on it. You're obviously, I don't know what you're thinking with Fitzpatrick. We all know that's a bridge type situation. So continue to build your defense until you find your quarterback. And then there's some guys in the third round. I mean, you have Trask, you have Kellen Mond. So it's like,
not a fan of Trask.
Yeah, and a lot of people aren't a fan of Mond either. I mean, if you listen to our fan base, they hate the guy. So to me, I don't know why, because I'm not a college guru. But I say you have third round picks. If Mond's available, who Davis Mills? Am I right? Like,
yeah,
again,
Stanford.
Okay. These guys are going to start, I don't know, if you got your guy there, if there's a guy there, draft him, let him sit behind Fitzpatrick, let him, try him out. And then if it just doesn't work, you keep drafting a quarterback until you find your guy. Because I can tell you this, I mean, if you look at the history, not all your quarterbacks are always in the first round. So who knows?
Yeah. Kellen Mond, if he fixes his if you watch his game tape, he's very inconsistent from game to game. But I think he just needs to loosen up, fix his throwing motion, and he might be a quality quarterback. I mean, he needs to sit for maybe a year or two for sure. But one signing that I actually was a fan of is that you guys signed William Jackson III.
Yeah.
Which is, good at corner, because you guys lost, I think, Fabian Monroe, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you guys lost him.
We lost Darby too.
Darby.
Yeah, we lost Darby.
And Darby to the Broncos.
Yeah, Darby took the bag over staying with the defense.
Do you think he was worth it? 30 million?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
No, yeah, not for that money.
I actually wouldn't be surprised with you guys trading up to get one of these top corners. I mean, Surtain, Horn,
I don't know about trading up, but I mean, anything's possible. I guess it's just, we don't know their draft strategy. I mean, everyone has different theories. I'm more of a BPA guy. Take BPA, you can't go wrong with it. But again, we're also a team that has many, many needs, and so I don't know if you can go BPA. I don't know if you can switch it up, but I think at this point you're not necessarily trying to build your offense. Especially after signing Samuel, you're still looking for your quarterback. So keep building on the defense, make your defense even better. And again, our defense was good, and our defense showed out the second half of the season, but it wasn't like we were lighting it up. I mean, you shouldn't lose to the Giants the way that you did in those games. And so is our defense lights out? No, but I think you keep drafting because in the end, even though we're an offensive league, I still believe defense wins championships.
Yeah.
Have you guys found your guys' left tackle since trading away Trent Williams?
No, not really. That's still a situation, too, as well. And I know, Daryl was, thrown in there, but I think he's going to get drafted super early. No. We've shifted guys, but lucky you guys, you still have Trent Williams, man. I cried.
Me and Durant were talking about it like pre-draft. We hated how things were handled, like found out there was a tumor, I was cancerous, et cetera, but you know what, man, I'm happy with it. I think we got him for a steal.
Of course.
But yeah, I think there's some quality not defense. There's some quality offensive tackles in this draft.
Yeah.
Parasol's a good one. Jenkins is a really good one. There's some depth here at this tackle class is very deep in my opinion. So, I mean, maybe it's time for you guys to it's not a sexy pick for a lot of people, especially like fans. They want like the sexy pick, receiver, quarterback, but maybe it's time to go a little bit of boring and go left tackle.
Well, I talked about this before. I'm not much of a mock draft guy. And again, I'm not a college guru, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everyone's skill sets and what the team should do. But, again, you have some decent linebackers in that draft too. So, again, like you said, if Darrisaw becomes available and you're looking for that stud, tackle to replace Trent Williams, you make that move, in my opinion, because now you have 2/3, that you can use. And I do think some decent linebackers are still going to be in the third round, like Jabril Cox. Could be wrong, he could be in the second, but you take a look at all these different mock drafts that these top guys that are doing. I don't hold much stock to what they say, don't get me wrong, but I think you're deep with linebackers and you're deep with tackles, but you only get one Trent Williams, man. They don't come around often, and you got the back end of Trent Williams' career, but to be honest, tackles, I mean, you age, but I don't think that your skill set changes, and
I mean, look at Joe Thomas. He was the same boring left tackle, but he was a wall.
Yeah,
of course. Absolutely. I have a question about Scott Turner, your OC. I mean, do you like him so far? And the reason I ask is because I feel like a lot of defensive focused head coaches, they get their OCs picked off if they're worth anything fairly quickly.
Yeah, I was up and down with him on a lot of the play calling. I'm going to reserve how I feel about this situation until, we're going to see, I guess, what's going to happen with Fitzpatrick. We all know as a fan, man, and seeing, Fitzpatrick has been a journeyman his whole life. His career actually got better towards the end with the whole Fitz magic shit. But at the end of the day, I still believe that he's a true QB too. It's just, we're not finding elite quarterbacks, like your Peyton Mannings, your Drew Brees, those types of Tom Brady's, I think Dax is on that tier level where by the time he finishes his career, he'll be considered an elite quarterback, in my opinion. So again, with Fitzpatrick, what are they going to use him for? Is he going to be gunslinging like he's known, and is that going to allow Scott Turner to unleash a better offensive plan? I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to reserve it though, because it's only, we're going into year 2 with it.
Yep. Good
You're
call.
Be that closer.
Good call.
Yeah. I mean, one game I cussed him out. The next game I'm like, oh shit, nice call.
Yeah.
Nice play. So that's how it is.
Yep. G, I only got one more question. You got anything else?
No, man. Have at it.
You got it. As we know, the NFC East hasn't had a repeat winner in 16 years. You guys won last year, so you can't win again next year. It's just how the rules go. Who would you pick for to win it this year?
So, listen, I don't think we would have won the division if Dak wouldn't have gotten hurt. Right? So, I mean, to keep it real, even though I don't want to, I would say Dallas is winning the division this year. I think that we're going to be somewhat competitive in the sense, maybe I'm hoping, again, I'm not a 7-9. I'm not that Redskins fan that think that, we're the shit because we went 7-9 into the playoffs and almost beat the team that, won the Super Bowl. Like, fuck out of here. That was just a weird ass game with Heineke in there. And,
Heineken,
man, God, this fan base drove me nuts with that guy. Listen, that guy did some shit. Okay. He did some stuff that we haven't seen as fans in a long time. And I give him the credit for it, but come on, at the end of the day, you were signed in as a COVID quarterback, right? You were a COVID quarterback. And yes, you came in and, again, you played with nothing to lose. I would hope that, that type of stuff happens. But again, another long-winded answer. Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are winning the division this year. I hate to say it. Dak is a good quarterback, man. And I think that your season would have obviously went totally different if he hadn't gotten hurt. And let me tell you, I used to laugh, Tony Romo, man, when he'd get hurt. I was that immature asshole that was like, fuck that guy. You got hurt. Man, when I was actually watching that game where he got hurt, and I was like, God damn it, that sucks, man. Because it's like, you just don't want to see that happen to anybody. And now I'm a lot more mature. So, I don't have that Tony Romo, little girly shit. So I was hurt to actually see Dak get hurt. Because like I said, I'm a Dak advocate. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
But Cowboys. Yep, Cowboys are winning. In my opinion, they're winning the division this year.
Yeah, I think they could have been competitive last year just in our division, but with how shitty the defense was, they weren't going to do anything in the playoffs. So, like you said, defense wins championships. So, that's it for me. G, anything else?
No, that's it for me. Keith, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you. Again, brag about your work and anything that you're doing. If you could stick around just a little bit after we, cut off, that'd be awesome. So, how about it? Floor is yours, brother.
Yeah, listen, you guys, anybody who's interested, I follow a couple 49er guys. I follow a couple division, guys, before I used to keep it just watching the football team. So you can find me on Twitter at KGskins26. Like I said, we're also doing podcasting, the Bleeding Burgundy podcast. I do have a Twitter account for that, but I don't really use it. So no point in promoting it. But other than that, that's it, man. I'm kind of doing the things that you guys are doing, just podcasting, talking about our teams. And, when you reached out to me in the DM, I was like, oh, wow. Absolutely, man. I want to get on and talk to some other people that I've never talked to before. So I appreciate the opportunity to come on your guys' platform and, be able to answer some, cool ass questions. You guys are cool as shit for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you for sharing your story, man. So much nostalgia. We wanted to talk to somebody that, got to experience more of football than we have. We're
I'm the old guy. I'm the old guy.
No, we
love it, man. Like, honestly, we wouldn't have known about the favorite player for sure. And I'm very, very jealous that you got to remember the big three in the U, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So much.
We'll put all your links below too, so everyone can follow along with you.
Yeah. So
appreciate it. And sorry to all your fans, man. I'm telling you, I'm long-winded. When you start asking me questions, I can't stop talking.
No, most of it's gonna be Washington football fans listening, so they're gonna love hearing this.
All right, cool.
So we appreciate it, Keith. Cheers to you.
Yep. Till next time. Thank you.
Till next time. Peace.
Good luck, guys.